Hi everyone, today I want to talk to you about the importance of vaccines. And I just want to impress upon you how crucial they have been in modern history, one of the pillars of our society. I would call them the most important medical invention, at least in recent history. And now, this is not a speech debating whether or not vaccines are safe. They are. There is overwhelming evidence that they are safe, so that there is really not there isn't it's not even an argument. It's just they are safe. Now, proceed. Come on. Okay, go back in time to 1796, Europe. 400,000 people died that year of smallpox. This is the world Dr. Edward Jenner decides to inoculate his first patient. He did this by making small scrapes in the patient's arm with a scalpel, which is as painful as it sounds, and exposing a really young boy to a much weaker form of smallpox called cowpox, which eventually made him immune to smallpox. In the 1880s, Louis Pasteur coined the term vaccination with his work actually on chickens. And in more modern history, Dr. Salk developed the first polio vaccine. This is the point in American history, especially, where vaccination took off and became the pillar of modern society. So much so that polio was actually declared eradicated in 1979. And smallpox followed the year later in 1980, where it was eradicated from the world. Imagine that. Polio was eradicated in 24 years, thanks to Dr. Salk's vaccine. Now, this graph here, this is the total number of cases of polio in the United States following 1979. And this is not 14,000 cases. This right here, this peak here is 13 cases total, where it dropped all the way to 0 in 2012. You can see measles, this is also measles in America, where it followed a very similar case trend where it was actually declared eradicated from the United States. And it is on a little bit of a resurgence, which we will talk about later. One of the most important things vaccines do, and why they are so important to society, is that they protect everyone, vaccinated or non-vaccinated. There are people in our society, mostly infants or cancer patients or those with a weakened immune system, that rely on the rest of us that are vaccinated, that can be vaccinated, to protect them. This is a process called herd immunity, where you can see those not vaccinated spread a disease very, very quickly, which is what actually is happening with COVID. And those here on the right, you see these people in green are vaccinated from a disease, and the person in red, the disease can only spread so far before it's contained. And this is the fate that awaits COVID when we get a vaccine for it. And so vaccines protect the most vulnerable members of our society. Another really important thing to realize and to appreciate vaccines for is that these diseases are not gone from the world. They're mostly gone from the United States, so much that we don't even think about them anymore. So things like polio, which is completely gone from the United States, and measles, which are mostly gone, are in Asia, Africa, and India, are still burning through their societies like wildfire. And you can see here, there were 350,000 cases of measles in 2011 alone in Western Africa. So you can imagine that these vaccines are so successful in the United States, we don't even think about measles anymore for the most part. Now, measles have made a little bit of a resurgence in recent years because of I don't want to call it the anti-vax movement, because it's not really a movement, it's just anti-science. So our vaccination rates are actually, unfortunately, at an all-time low here in the United States, and they were at the lowest in 2019 and are a little bit are climbing back now. Unfortunately, and measles, you can see here, is actually returning to America. Anyway, last thing, I guess we will address the elephant in the room a little bit, and that vaccines are absolutely safe. There is overwhelming evidence that vaccines are completely safe. Um, I'll just talk about the vaccine autism link real quick. The vaccine autism link was made by one guy called Andrew Wakefield. And if you notice, I don't call him Dr. Andrew Wakefield, is because he lost his medical license because of this paper, because he fudged the data to produce that link. So you can see these are just a few studies showing how vaccines are safe and healthy to use. And this is not all of them. This is just the ones I could fit on this page. If you Google CDC vaccine safety, you will find hundreds, possibly thousands of studies showing that these are safe. And now you can imagine that our world has been built because of vaccines. You see here, this graph, this is infant mortality. In 1915 has dropped so significantly to the point where we expect every child born to live through infancy, and not just live, but live without a horrible disease like polio or smallpox or measles or mumps. These vaccines are so successful that we don't even think about these diseases anymore. We are absolutely privileged to live in a world where these vaccines are successful. There was once a time, especially when the polio vaccine came out, where parents lined up to have their children vaccinated. And that is a very, very brief presentation of why vaccines, or why you should care about vaccines. And these are just my citations. Please stop recording.